Before we begin, I'd like to welcome members of the public to this open meeting, but also request that our audience respect the meeting space of the Board of Trustees and remain in the audience section so that the university is able to efficiently conduct its business and ensure other members of the public can hear the proceedings. Pursuant to Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, public notice of this meeting was filed on June 23rd, 2023, with the Office of the Secretary of the State of New Jersey and 3 newspapers, the Cherry Hill Courier Post, the New Brunswick Home News Tribune, and the Newark Star Ledger. Public notice of the meeting was posted in the following university libraries: the Alexander Library in New Brunswick, the Dana Library in Newark, and the Robeson Library in Camden. Pursuant to Public Law 2020, Chapter 11, public notice of the meeting has been posted on the Rutgers website under governing boards. I'd now like to take a moment to ask the members if you've all read the agenda and the meeting materials. Does anyone have a conflict of interest or potential conflict of interest to disclose at this time? Seeing as there are none, we may continue, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you, Madam Secretary. I want to start with a little bit of a welcoming. It's good to be back together again, and I see there's a lot of excitement here in the room. Thanksgiving has just passed, and now we are well into the holiday season. And as we approach the end of the year, my thoughts turn to giving thanks. I'm thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for your dedication, your commitment, your talent, your experience, and for all that you do for our great university. We will talk more about our presence as trustees when we discuss progress on our goals later in the meeting. But I do want to make a particular point of thanking you for your support at President Holloway's stakeholder address. 21 voting trustees and 7 trustee emeriti were present in person, not to mention many of you watching live stream. It was a wonderful address and event, and I appreciate your taking the time to be a part of it. On November 29th, Chancellor Tillis unveiled the new strategic plan for Camden. This plan will provide a roadmap for the elevation of Rutgers Camden over the next 5 years. The plan was enclosed in the Rutgers Today communication, but I want to make sure that all of you have the opportunity to read this exciting plan as a standalone document. I will ask the Office of the Secretary to send the plan out to all of you under separate cover so that you can be especially aware of the vision of excellence that's forth in the document. A gentle reminder to all of you, nominations for new trustees are due this Monday, December 11th. I've communicated to you previously on this topic, so I won't take the time to do so again now, but please work on getting those nominations into the Office of the Secretary by December 11th. I want to close my formal remarks with some extra congratulations for some of our trustees. Jim Rhodes has been asked to serve as co-chair of the committee planning the 100th anniversary of the founding of Rutgers Camden, which will take place in 2026. In addition, Jim has been honored by being named a Director Emeritus of the RUAA. Jim was the founding RUAA board chair, and it's entirely fitting that he is the first to receive this honor from the RUAA. Congratulations, Jim. Finally, I want to congratulate 3 of our trustee emeriti, all past chairs of the Board of Trustees. Talak Lal, Mary DiMartino, and Sandy Stewart have been awarded the honor of Loyal Sons and Daughters of Rutgers. This is the highest award for service given at the university. They will be honored at the Loyal Sons and Daughters Award Dinner on April 13th at Nielsen Dining Hall here on the Douglas campus. I will be attending the dinner to celebrate with them. I hope that your schedules allow you to attend as well. Tickets tend to sell out quickly for this event, so I will keep you informed as to when tickets go on sale. On a personal note, I can't think of any 3 individuals who epitomize service to our university more than Talak, Mary, and Sandy. Besides being Board of Trustees chairs, Talak and Mary currently serve on the Board of Governors. Sandy not only served as Board of Trustees chair, but also served on the Board of Governors as chair of the Board of Governors. I have learned so much about leadership and service from them. Those of you new on the Board of Trustees who might not know Talak, Mary, and Sandy should try to make some time to get to know them. Their wisdom and commitment is a valuable resource for all of us. Congratulations, Talak, Mary, and Sandy. I'd like now to induct a new member of the Board of Trustees. I'd like to ask Dina Carmazin Elkins to approach the microphone and ask Mr. John Hoffman, Senior Vice President, General Counsel, and member of the Bar of the State of New Jersey, to administer the oath of allegiance in office.
I, Dina Carmazin Elkins,
I, Dina Carmazin Elkins,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established in
and the governments established in
the United States and in this state
the United States and in the state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
partially,
partially,
and justly
and
perform
justly perform
all the duties of the office
all the duties of the office
of member of the Board of Trustees
of member of the Board of Trustees
of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey,
of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Dina. Dina's hit the ground running on our Committee on Trustee Philanthropy, and she joined Vice Chair Johnson and myself at an event at the Cancer Center of New Jersey talking about advanced cancer therapeutics. Welcome, Dina. We're glad to have you part of the trustees. It gives me pleasure to introduce our new Senate and student representatives to the Board of Trustees. Welcome back, Dr. Robert Schwartz, who in prior years did serve as Senate Representative of the Board of Trustees. Dr. Schwartz is Professor of Medicine and Head of Dermatology at New Jersey Medical School. He is also Professor of Pediatrics and Professor of Preventive Medicine and Community Health at the New Jersey Medical School. Dr. Schwartz, welcome. The other faculty student Senate representative, Dr. Boykus, I'm not sure if he's online, but Dr. Boykus is professor at the Department of Chemistry and Chemical Biology here in the School of Arts and Sciences, New Brunswick. And my understanding is he did serve as Senate representative a very, very long time ago. So welcome, Professor Boykus. Like to introduce our undergraduate student representative, Brielle Fedorko is here, class of 2025, School of Communication and Information, majoring in journalism and media studies and political science. Brielle, welcome. Put your hand up so people know. And the second student representative is Tumi Ayerinde. She is a medical student in New Jersey Medical School, class of 2026. Are you here? There you are. Welcome.
Thank you.
So welcome to our representatives. I'd like to move on now to the agenda, and I'd ask Trustee Jean Fox to present a memorial resolution now. Jean?
Yeah, Alan, I thank you for asking me to do it. I've known Herb Klein, I don't know, for 45 years or something. We served as a trustee together, but I knew him before that, and he and his wife Jacqueline, I knew them after. He was a great guy. Let it be recorded in deepest sorrow that the Honorable Herbert C. Klein, a loyal son of Rutgers who faithfully served the university as a member of the Board of Trustees, passed away on November 24, 2023. The illustrious member of the Rutgers College class of 1951, Herb shared his considerable insights as a public trustee from 1991 to 1997, always exhibiting his unwavering commitment to Rutgers students and all members of the university committee. He made noteworthy contributions to the Board of Governors Committee on University Relations, and numerous trustee advisory committees, including those for Rutgers College, the School of Criminal Justice, the School of Communication, Information and Library Sciences, and the School of Law, Newark. As a graduate of Harvard Law School and New York University, Herb was a successful attorney, and his legacy of service extends to his time in the United States Air Force and his tenure in the New Jersey General Assembly, where he wrote the law that helped create the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Herb faithfully served with fellow citizens as a member of the United States House of Representatives from 1993 to 1995, where as a member of the House Banking Committee, he wrote key legislation to solve the savings and loan crisis and co-authored legislation authorizing branch banking and community development banks. And his exemplary leadership of the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee placed him at the forefront of various important issues. More recently, Herb made a most generous donation in benefit of the Herbert and Jacqueline Krieger-Klein Alzheimer's and Dementia Clinical Research and Treatment Center at Rutgers Biomedical and Health Sciences in memory of his beloved wife, with whom he supported many Rutgers initiatives, including the Allen and Joan Bildner Center for the Study of Jewish Life, Eagleton Institute of Politics, and the Krieger-Klein Endowment Chair in Alzheimer's Disease and Neurodegeneration Research. So be it resolved, therefore, that as an expression of the board's grateful remembrance of the Honorable Herbert C. Klein's dedication to Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, this memorial resolution shall be recorded in the minutes of the Board of Trustees, and a copy shall be sent to his family, along with our heartfelt and deepest condolences. So move.
Thank you, Jean. May I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Move. May I have a second, please? Second. Is there any discussion?
Really wonderful. He was a mentor for my son. He loved Rutgers.
Yes.
Big golf. He's lectured. Last year we had him at the School of Public Affairs Administration. What a wonderful,
Yeah.
what a wonderful human being. And of course, his wife.
Jacqueline, yeah.
Treasurer. So sad.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say nay. Any abstentions? Thank you. The resolution passes. I'd like to call now on our leader, President Holloway, for his comments. President Holloway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I want to applaud board member and Assemblyman-elect Kevin Egan. Excuse me, skipping that line here. Well, I'll acknowledge him anyway. This is the Board of Governors. I'm sorry. We're going to acknowledge him anyway because he's a lovely guy. On his elections in New Jersey General Assembly last month. I'm also happy to say that construction on the Helix in New Brunswick across from the train station is finally taking shape.
Finally.
Next week, 1,200 cubic yards of concrete will be poured. And hopefully I will no longer get nails in my tire when I drive by. Side comment. I hope you got to see the Rutgers University Marching Band perform in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. If you missed that, you have another chance. They'll be on the side or in the stadium at Yankee Stadium when Rutgers beats Miami in the pinstripe, the bad boy Norris Bowl. Some accolades and a Thanksgiving letter to our outstanding faculty. I mentioned 4 recent honors that I want to repeat here. Professor Emily Marker won an award from the American Historical Association for the best book in modern European and international history. Professor Mark Gluck's interdisciplinary team earned a new NIH grant to continue its vital study of Alzheimer's disease in African Americans. Professor Julian Gross was selected for the geology team supporting the first crewed lunar landing mission in half a century. And Professor Jeffrey Carson was appointed co-chair of an international panel on improving blood transfusions. These are just some of the ways our faculty across the university are making their mark. On the admissions front, this is the first year that Rutgers is employing the Common App for undergraduate admissions, which makes it much easier for students to apply to Rutgers than in the past. The impact on applications has been considerable, to say the least. We won't know until much later what the enrollment numbers will be as a result, the final numbers, of course, but the volume of applications has increased dramatically, and especially among out-of-state and international applicants. Increasing applications is important to rebuilding our enrollment, especially at Camden and Newark, which is still recovering from the drop that began during COVID. Compared with this moment in time last year, New Brunswick applications are up 52%. Newark applications are up by 110%. Camden applications are up by 181%. The move to the Common App is one step among others in our commitment to strengthen the admissions process and clarify and simplify the admissions process and make the overall student experience from application to graduation more rewarding and easier to navigate. As Chancellor, my goodness, as Chair, so I was either blessing you or cursing you, I don't know. As Chair Crosta mentioned, Chancellor Tillis recently unveiled the Camden Strategic Plan, a 5-year blueprint that will take Rutgers University in Camden through and beyond its 100th anniversary in 2026. 5 strategic priorities in the plan: innovation and academic excellence, striving toward preeminence; transformative student success; holistic student experience; beloved Camden community; and internationalism, bringing Rutgers Camden and the world together. The plan calls for expanding student recruitment locally in the city of Camden itself, as well as regionally and internationally, strengthening student retention and graduation rates, and increasing alumni engagement. It's an exciting and ambitious plan, seeking to elevate the already outstanding research profile of the faculty to reach populations not served through non-traditional learning communities, to increase resources to support undergraduate research, and expand career readiness programs, among many other things. Let me finish by acknowledging that, like a lot of universities across the country, we are grappling with the difficult issues surrounding the Middle East conflict. Some of these issues include free speech and academic freedom, the safety of our students, the rise in anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, the role of the university in providing safe spaces to voice our viewpoints, especially when our students and employees may have family members directly impacted by the war, both Israeli and Palestinian. We want to support our students as they express their anguish, their anger, their outrage, and at the same time, we need to enforce our policies on student conduct, keep our campuses safe, and conduct the essential work of the university. A university is a marketplace of ideas. Sometimes those ideas clash, and sometimes those ideas cause outrage. But we have a long and treasured tradition of academic freedom, and that means we don't cancel lectures and seminars based on content. These are times when we need to support each other's right to express ourselves, even if we fundamentally and vehemently disagree with what everyone has to say. Universities also must be places for understanding, especially in a moment when it is so easy to be divided. We aspire to do all of these things. Let me close by offering you all my wishes for a peaceful and successful end of the semester and a joy-filled holiday season. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for President Holloway? Anyone online? No one? Okay. Okay, thank you. Let's move on. Today is all about New Brunswick. And I asked Chancellor Conway to present her report to the board.
Thank you, Chairman Costa, and it's good to see you twice in 1 week. Good evening, everyone. Today I'll be saying a little bit about what is happening in New Brunswick in terms of technology and AI, data science. So higher education recognizes that the way we work today will not be the same in the future. To prepare for this, we need to think differently. Universities worldwide are reckoning with the changes that AI, data science, and machine learning are bringing to industries such as agriculture, healthcare, manufacturing, and higher education. The digital transformation holds tremendous implications for educating our students and addressing the grand challenges that face society, such as climate, feeding the world, zero waste engineering, and protecting social justice and equity. Rutgers New Brunswick is working to get ahead of these changes through the goals of our academic master plan, and we are engaging in our digital transformation that will harness these tools so that our students are successful and prepared. Now, since the dawn of the digital age, there have been two types of occupants. We have the digital natives, roughly anyone born before 1980, and digital newcomers. Let's face it, the rest of us in this room, except for maybe our students. Virtually all of today's traditional college students are digital natives. They've always used the internet and online to find information, to find answers to problems. They spend significant time with their devices. They understand diversity because of all the different types of people they meet on the internet, and they're comfortable talking about their psychological needs, their emotional needs. They have certain expectations now of universities that we will educate them, connect with them, place them in valuable experiential learning opportunities while supporting their mental health and their well-being. So the population of digital newcomers are mostly our faculty, in this context, our faculty and administrators. Digital newcomers are those who have to adapt to the technology in most aspects of our lives, especially when we're used to picking up the phone and getting a live person on the other side. We're now dealing with chatbots. So in the news, headlines grab our attention. Students outrun faculty in use of AI. AI is predicted to replace many jobs, and virtual reality technology is used to meet the growing needs of counseling on campuses. So we have a role to play in helping newcomers achieve digital literacy. So there's a small minority in this universe that I'd like to also include, and these are digital innovators. As part of higher education, we are uniquely positioned to participate in digital innovation. And I'll share a little bit more later about what we're doing in this space. So the question is, how is Rutgers, New Brunswick embracing this digital transformation? We're examining this question across the 4 pillars of the academic master plan. But for purposes of this presentation, I will focus on student success. In considering what digital transformation would mean for the 3 objectives of the student success pillar shown here, we asked, how can we use technology to create a welcoming and equitable environment, to prioritize on-time graduation, and expand high-impact learning opportunities to prepare our students for success? So for our first student success objective, which is to create a welcoming and equitable environment, a hallmark of this transformation is a campus distinguished by holistic well-being and academic support for students. To do so, we must build a technological ecosystem that supports our students. So here are some of the things that we're doing. The AMP, the Scarlet Well Initiative, prioritizes the well-being of our campus community. And we were able to secure $1.6 million from the state of New Jersey to address food insecurity and other basic needs. This funding made it possible to provide Together All, which is a virtual, anonymous, peer-to-peer support network that students can access 24/7 online. Now, to support our students, we also have to understand how they're moving across our campus, how they're engaging, what services they're utilizing. And so we use a digital platform called Anthology. It's an app ecosystem that allows us to track data across a student's journey and identify when a student is at risk and drive them towards resources. And on the academic support side, here are some examples of things that we're doing. Now, Canvas is an enterprise-wide electronic environment. It's very resilient and robust. It provides an environment where students can access the course materials, where faculty can provide feedback to students and intervene if they're at risk of falling behind. We also use the Green Navigator and Course Schedule Planner to help students with academic planning and understanding degree requirements. We use apps like GroupMe and Penji to help provide virtual tutoring for our students. so they no longer need to physically come into our learning centers. This technological ecosystem is a good start, but we can and must do more. The question remains, what digital solutions can Rutgers New Brunswick implement to help our students navigate the Rutgers experience? So let me share some recommendations that are coming out of our Discovery Advantage initiative. These are preliminary recommendations, and I'm waiting the final report. One of the recommendations is to create a curriculum map, an electronic curriculum map that allows our students to really navigate the overwhelming number of majors and minors and co-curricular experiences that they can participate in. We also want to develop a single platform for advising, learning assistance, and support. This will allow teachers, academic advisors, those who support our students to access their records seamlessly. So regardless of the point of entry, if a student is a SEBS student and they go to they visit an advisor in SAS, they should be able, prepared and equipped to advise that student. We're also developing a transfer portal for transfers, not only into the institution, but across the different academic units here at New Brunswick. Our second student success objective is to prioritize on-time graduation. The hallmark of this objective is a campus community that is accessible and that helps our students to complete their degree on time. For digital natives, this begins with initiatives like the Scarlet Guarantee and 15 to Finish. These focus on financial barriers, but technological interventions can also be helpful. We're working to establish a student success data dashboard that will help us to track retention, on-time completion, and graduation, helping us to identify our students at risk for dropout or stop out. For our digital newcomers or non-traditional learners who need the flexibility in terms of their schedules and their familial obligations, we are looking to develop and better coordinate a more robust online presence. At the same time, we must ensure that our digital newcomers have technological fluency that's required to be successful. We want our campus to be more accessible also, not just financially, but also physically accessible. So through a partnership between Rutgers New Brunswick, Office of Disability Services, and IRA, a visual interpretation service is available free of charge and 24/7 to anyone on our campus. This person-to-person service can help with reading textbooks or prescription labels, and even read signs and maps to guide our student users as they physically navigate our space, take our buses. This partnership has been recently extended to Camden, and we're working to also bring it to Newark and RBHS. Our third student success objective is to expand high-impact learning opportunities and become well-known to students and employers as the university that provides proactive career and advanced degree preparation. We aspire to prepare our students to join a technologically advanced workforce and to have employers rely on Rutgers New Brunswick students for their digital and other emerging skills. For starters, for current students or digital natives, we use an app called Rutgers Handshake. It's an electronic hub that connects our students to internships and to employers. We also have initiatives that meet our digital newcomers. These are our students who are looking for micro-credentialing, and we use an app called Accredible to help with that. Also, the School of Engineering offers a certificate in machine learning, enabling trainees to use the power of machine learning to interpret complex data sets and forecast trends. This is a highly sought after skill with applications in sectors as diverse as technology, healthcare, finance, transportation, and so on. Now, some of our faculty are also digital newcomers. So how are we preparing our faculty to work with our students? So based on recommendations from the AMP, we have begun developing an Institute for Innovations in Instruction Technology. And this is to help our faculty upskill and retool so that they can support our student learning. Again, we must do more in career preparation for both digital natives and digital newcomers. Coming out of the Discovery Initiative, one recommendation was for us to update our learning goals as it pertains to information and computer literacy. Now, although I've devoted most of my talk so far on student success, I must point out that the other three academic master plan pillars are part of this digital transformation. And I want to showcase just for a little bit how Rutgers, New Brunswick is leaning into this idea of being an innovator in the digital space. So the academic master plan talks and calls for us to create scholarly communities and to be leaders of these scholarly areas and have interdisciplinary communities. We have started bringing together scholars who are doing fantastic work in artificial intelligence, data science, and machine learning to form this scholarly community of digital innovators. So here are just a few examples of the work that our faculty are doing. One example is the work we're doing in agriculture, how we're integrating artificial intelligence in agriculture. And again, I'm just pointing out 2 examples. There are many, many more. Artificial intelligence speeds the search for state proteins used in drug development. This is a faculty in biomedical engineering who developed a machine learning model to identify chemical compounds most likely to stabilize proteins. In 2022, Soli Organic announced a seed genetics partnership with one of our professors who is a leading global plant breeding expert at the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences. And the idea is to select and advance the next generation of commercial organic indoor grown produce using state-of-the-art analytical instrumentation to analyze and produce seed genetics and identify and optimize flavor. Another example of us playing in the AI space are in areas that refer to society. We are looking at security, privacy, and AI. There's a faculty member who, from the business school, who got a $3.2 million grant from NSF and NIH, looking to see how we can use technologies to promote health equity and protect our privacy. There's research on misinformation that's coming out of Sky, and this is a multi-university collaboration in which big data analytics help us to understand wide-ranging political trends and informs policymaking. We also have AI in the art. This is what we've all heard of computer-generated art that's even better than the real thing. And the leader in this space is a Rutgers faculty member. His name is Ahmed El Gamal. He's the founder and director of the Art and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory here in New Brunswick and a professor of computer science. So those are just a few examples. We aim to continue to build this capacity through the Chancellor Challenge. The Chancellor Challenge invites members of our community to come together, many different disciplines, and think about how they would address a grand challenge in society. It's through this Chancellor Challenge that we formed a recent Rutgers Climate Energy Institute in response to this challenge. And I'm very proud of the faculty who are working together to do that. But I would like to say in the AI space, our most unique Chancellor Challenge initiative is a cluster hire on data science and artificial intelligence. It will start by hiring 11 new faculty members into our community of digital innovators. It will create cross-disciplinary scholarly community, that really looks at societal benefits and implications of our artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science. And this year, we will begin the search in these 4 areas in terms of AI, interpretability, data science, and so on. We also want to prepare our students to learn and innovate in these areas. So for example, Dr. Dana from Electrical and Computer Engineering developed a program we refer to as Socrates, or Socially Cognizant Robotics for a Technology-Enhanced Society. This is a training grant that's funded by NSF, where she is actually training the next generation of scholars who will be working in robotics. I met with her yesterday, and she's very excited because she will bring these new students, these new trainees, to join our scholarly community. We also have Professor Gobert, who's a faculty in the Graduate School of Education, and she's researching how AI can be used to help with assessing learning in school-age kids, and was invited to be a consultant to President Biden. We have many, many more superstars, but those are just a few. We've already begun to develop curriculum in this area, and in the spring, the next Chancellor Challenge will be to accept proposals for new degree programs in climate science, AI, and data science programs. I want to end with an invitation for us to partner around these 3 student success pillar objectives. Your ability to mentor our students helps us to make Rutgers a more equitable and welcoming environment. Your commitment to Scarlet Promise reduces incidences of students stopping out or interrupting their studies. And your knowledge and expertise with the places you've worked, the connections, your network, can help us to understand more specifically what industry and corporate partners are looking for in the next generation of students and lifelong learners that we're preparing. So thank you, and I'll take questions.
Thank you, Chancellor Cantor. Chancellor Conway, I'm sorry.
That is quite a compliment. Thank you.
There were quite a lot of questions about artificial intelligence in our assessment survey that came back. So anyone have any questions, comments? Mary?
Thank you, Chancellor Conway. I have actually a question on on-time graduation because I think it's something incredibly important. Are we looking technologically at alternatives for students who might be missing 1 or 2 classes to finish in a non-traditional way without actually doing classroom work, and maybe looking at using some of maybe the modules that we created for online learning during COVID for them to actually finish? Because I think I don't know what the number might be, but maybe you may have a better idea right now what the number might be, but what are some of the things that we're looking at in terms of helping these students to get to that over the hump?
Yeah, thank you for asking the question. What I did not talk about is the fact that last spring, I convened a committee to look at the feasibility of creating a new academic unit for non-traditional students. I think they get lost in the schools, and they need a different kind of evaluation and assessment of life experiences for credit. And we know we just don't do that anymore. And so the committee came back with a recommendation that we create a school that will meet the needs of our non-traditional students. That report is currently with the University Senate and the Faculty Council. So once I get their feedback, we'll be able to move to the next step.
Thank you.
Bob?
Yeah, thank you, Chancellor Conway.
Turn your mic on? No.
There it is. Thank you. As you correctly described, AI is just sort of changing the world that we live in. It's never going to be the same. I experience it in my own profession. Has tremendous opportunity, but it's also fraught with potential difficulties, including student production of information, of reports, et cetera. How are we addressing, how are we navigating the waters of the potential downsides of artificial intelligence?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. A few months ago, weeks ago, I was on a panel at Prudential talking about artificial intelligence and the intersection between companies and higher ed. And a student approached me afterwards and said, my professor is so afraid that I'm going to cheat or that we're going to cheat that they've changed one of the assignments that is quite lengthy. That was a take-home assignment, now an in-class assignment. It's like 4-hour test. And he said, what are you doing to help, basically? And so this institute that I mentioned for instruction, teaching, helping our faculty to retool and upskill, because they have to come at this with a different mindset and they have to think of a different way of evaluating learning outcomes. So, the traditional way is to say, write me a paper on X. I think, for example, just to simplify it, what needs to happen now is say, use ChatGPT and write me a paper in X, and then give me an analysis of the paper. And making sure that we understand, I mean, even if you think about Bloom's taxonomy, there are different levels, right, of understanding and integrating information and synthesis. That you can't plagiarize. So I think a lot of it is simply tweaking the way that we're approaching our assessment abilities. Also, giving students more onus in creating and developing products and really being able to analyze and understand the credibility behind it, the research behind it, so on and so forth. I mean, I can go on and on, but this past summer, we had a faculty teaching institute. We have it every summer that selects a small group of faculty. We give them some incentive around retooling their syllabus and so on and so forth. And it's been very successful, but it's really tiny number of faculty. What we heard back from faculty was this wish and this desire to have more training and to have more access to technology. And so that's why we're creating this new institute to sort of address this issue on a broader scale.
Just want to go to Susan Martin online. Go ahead, Susan.
Thank you. And thank you very much for the presentation. The digital information was very useful. And I think all of us in academia have been struggling with it. So it's good to see where Rutgers is heading in this area. I received a letter, forwarded letter from you this morning that talks about the efforts that you're planning to deal with some of the tensions arising over the Israeli-Hamas war. I think it might be interesting for all of us to hear a little bit more about what you're actually planning and how this process is going through, particularly in dealing with the anti-Semitism and Islamophobia that we're seeing in all over the country.
Thank you so much, Susan. That's a great question and timely. And as Dr. Holloway said in his opening remarks, our position and our stance is that we do not tolerate bigotry of any form, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia. Some of the things that we've done in New Brunswick, I'll just be quick about it. There's a long list, but first thing is that we meet every morning, a select number of the president's cabinet members and my cabinet members to talk about what's happening on campus. So we're triaging and looking at this every day, every single day. The second thing that we have done is we've created a website that has a list of programs and activities that we're offering to our community. The website is called Caring for Our Community, and it talks about, for example, we've had 2 speakers so far that talks about speech. This is geared towards the faculty for them to understand that if they're not speaking about a content matter, that it's highly inappropriate to talk about as an expert to speak about what's happening and encouraging our students in whatever direction that they're encouraging them, because we really need to continue to have our classrooms be inclusive. So we have been providing training for our faculty. Our students came together, I'm very proud of them, and said, you know, we want to do something else, something tangible. We want to create a space that is symbolic of peace and unity. And so I have sponsored the students' efforts to create a peace garden on campus, and they'll be working on that more intently in the spring. They've already started putting their plans together. We've had many more trainings that are coming. We have a training coming from the Eagleton Institute by Elizabeth Matto that talks about how to have difficult conversations. I just released today an action plan for how our community is going to be responding to the conflict, and it includes a range of strategies that are informed by the ADL that has talked about how a campus can prepare themselves to deal with anti-Semitism. And so that's part, you know, a lot of that has informed our plan. And in the plan, I identify the things that we have done, and I talk about the things that we're still going to do. So one of those things that we're doing at the moment is forming a task force, an advisory task force that includes students, faculty, and staff who can provide us, the president and I, with very concrete suggestions and help us to respond to the students. So we are reevaluating our student conduct process to make sure it aligns and it's up to date with the definition of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but that letter was sent out today to our campus community, is on my website, and you can learn a lot more about what we're doing. Like I said, the president's cabinet members and members from my cabinet meet every day, and we talk about this, we triage, we respond. We encourage our students to report bias incidences. We take it very seriously. But thank you for asking the question. It is a difficult time.
Well, thank
Artie.
you very much.
We appreciate all your efforts during this most difficult time, and it's been one challenge after the other. I think we have the right president at the right time to handle from the pandemic, and now we're dealing with another challenge. But I wanted to go back to the AI information that you presented, because you had some really interesting apps and seemed really clever. How do the students find out about that? Because it's a great resource that's available to them. And, I did my little thumbnail, just texting my own little grandniece, and they knew of some of them and not of others. But
Thank you. So every student who enrolls in Rutgers, New Brunswick, are given a My Rutgers portal page. And so we populate these different opportunities on that student page. We also, because of Together All, during the orientation, this is the grant that I mentioned that we got from the state, during the orientation period, we have special peer-to-peer sort of advisors, student advisors. We've broken these groups because we admit about 7,500 students in the first year class, but we break them down into smaller cohorts, and they meet with their orientation leader, and they're advised on these different opportunities. The other app that I mentioned, Ontology, when we notice that a student, we look at the data and we notice that a student is falling off, we're able to push notices and use the algorithms to put things in front of our students. So it's a kind of, imagine an environment where we're no longer waiting for students to come to us, but we're pushing information all the time.
right. And I mean, one of the issues is on-time graduations, and that, is the amount of money and then the loans associated with it. So thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say that, I'm making this sound very clean, and I'm looking at President Holloway, because I know he's probably going to say, Fran, why didn't you talk about the fact that you have to crack some heads to get this done? So, but it's really President Holloway has really set the tone that we're doing this together, and he doesn't want to hear, well, that's not the way we always did it, right? So we are, I mean, like, for example, bringing these advisors together and saying, look, you're going to work together. This is what we're doing. So it's a lot of that, sort of addressing the culture of things being very distributed and disconnected from the president and from the chancellor, and just sort of realigning that culture is a big part of it.
I have Roberta, then Brielle, then Linda, then Dr. Schwartz.
Okay, thank you for the entire presentation and also for addressing what you were just addressing. And I recall that not that long ago, there was a dorm in the global village called Peaceful Coexistence. Now, it didn't last that long, so I don't know. I don't know why, but maybe Jean seems. Oh, the students weren't, okay, Jean's saying the students were not signing up, but maybe now they could be more interested in something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking also we have these, although you're probably talking about it, here we have the Center for Islamic Life, then the Bildner, then Hillel, and then other Muslim and Arabic groups. Like, how about dialogue programs like between them where they dialogue, it would seem.
Okay, so two things. One, I hear you asking about students being able to live in communities. And one of the recommendations from Discovery Advantage is to create these smaller cohort communities that are focused on a particular issue, and then string them all together and call them discovery districts or discovery neighborhoods, because the idea is that it includes both our residential and non-residential students. So that's certainly an opportunity. The second thing that you asked about, there were two things.
Existing
yes.
groups, the
Yes,
student. yeah.
bringing students together. So I have consulted, being a psychologist, I mean, that was my first thing, like, let's get together and have therapy. But in consultation with some experts, one of the things that has to happen when you bring people together is you have to have trust. And currently there is no trust. And so coming together can be proved to be very challenging. However, in one of my statements, I included a link to an article where Rabbi Reed and the imam, the Muslim imam, actually worked together on an initiative. So just sort of modeling that, maybe bringing faculty together from both sides to have dialogue and so on. But in terms of bringing the students together, I think we need a little bit of time. Things are very raw right now and very sensitive. So, but I know that the students on the student side, they're very active, they're very involved in their communities, their respective communities. And we, thank God, knock on wood, blessings, whatever, you know, Rutgers has stayed out of the news on this. We have really, the leadership here, the administrative leadership has been exceptional. And so I think Dr. Holloway deserves a hand for that, really.
President Holloway just wants to add something.
Well, on a light point, we've taken to calling Fran the enforcer. So in terms of trying to create new strategies here. But quite seriously, I'm glad you said it, Fran. I was going to say it myself, that we have, starting in the second week or so of this conflict, reached out to different leaders, often faith leaders, about trying to find ways to come together. And what the chancellor said is exactly right. They're saying it's too soon. Now, that's a New Brunswick status. In Camden, there was an interfaith alliance formed as a grassroots movement, organized at the grassroots, came together almost 3 weeks ago, having a day-long event with several hundred people there, very successful. So Camden's in a different place than New Brunswick is now, for a bunch of different reasons we don't need to get into, but still they're in a place that in New Brunswick we want to get to. Newark is a different story altogether as well, where most of the heat on these issues has been really generated in the law school, and I'll just leave it at that for right now. But there are many narratives on many different sides. There's lots of bad information floating around. One thing I wanted to give you a glimpse on what Fran and I and others been trying to navigate through and trying to run our campuses while, I'll just say it, being electronically harassed. We've received 12,000 emails and counting in the last 10 days related to a seminar happening on campus. I will, as I said it implicitly, because of the absolute commitment to academic freedom, we will go to really hard places to preserve academic freedom. This is one of these things. And there are instances where people say, I support free speech, but you cannot have a conjunction and a qualifier if you support free speech. We support free speech and it's hard. But in terms of 12,000 emails, it makes it difficult to actually run things because you're constantly filtering, trying to filter what is an actual person, who's an actual Rutgers affiliate, and who deserves a response. We'll be responding, our teams will, but it's going to take time. And some people have expressed their outrage that they have participated in a copy and paste campaign and have yet to hear back. When there are 12,000 emails, you cannot respond in a quick fashion. You just can't. Fran and I have been working very diligently with donor communities, with phone calls, with the governor's team, et cetera, to manage this thing. And I will say I am quite, and we have not been out of the news. That's very kind of you to structure it that way, Fran, but we've been in the news plenty, but we could have been more in the news. And we should be thankful. We should be thankful for that. And lots of hard work, lots of coordinated work. And this is the last thing I'll say, and this is what one of the interesting side benefits of a really tough situation is that one of my agenda items, very quietly expressed, is to make sure New Brunswick and Central Administration learned how to work better together. We may only be 50 yards apart, but a lot of things happen in those 50 yards. But this is an instance where extensive coordination with messaging, with security, with you name it, has been happening that's allowed us to function the way we've been functioning. So the applause goes to Fran as well. Thank you.
Brielle.
Hi, so I actually have two questions. I want to go back to AI. So you talked about this brief example of how professors and faculty will use AI, like when you put an essay and then analyze that essay. But I also know that students are using this for answers, and obviously, like as you reflected in your example, that's exactly what they're doing. But how does curriculum better integrate AI to enhance student research? Because right now we're using it for answers, but it could be a really good tool to have. However, there are a lot of its pitfalls. So that's my first question. And my second question, I wanted to go back to the mental health app, Together All. Is that open for undergraduate students or just grad students?
All students.
Okay, so that was my concern. A lot of undergraduate students do not know about this. And personally, I don't know about it, and I'm pretty involved on campus. And I wonder if there's a better way we can enforce this, because it's a fantastic tool. And I think a lot of students would use a benefit from it, especially during this time with final seasons.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I'll answer the latter first. I have seen advertisements like in the student centers about this. I think maybe they can be a little bit more explicit, because I think they're trying to be sort of neutral and not have the stigma attached to it. So it's like, oh, do you need help? Do you need someone to talk to? But not being very explicit that it's mental health support, virtual therapy. So I'll give that feedback to student affairs. In terms of your first question, one of the things that I learned, at least in my graduate work, is that you have to ask the right questions, right? And there's an art to that. So if you're doing a research, a dissertation, a project, or whatever, it all starts with how do you ask the question? And I think that's where we can help students with critical thinking. It's not so much, I mean, there's lots of information out there, right? So my metaphor is, it's like making a cake. Like I have access to flour and baking soda and eggs and butter, but that doesn't mean my cake is going to come out well, right? I have to understand the proportions. I have to understand the process. And I think that's where we need to focus our attention in helping our students with cognitive, developing those cognitive skills, those critical thinking skills, so that they can get the information, put it together in the right way.
Linda.
Caldwell Epps, I'm assuming there are a few Lindas. Is it me?
Am I the Linda?
Which Linda? Alan?
Linda, why don't you start online and then we'll go to Linda Rivers here.
Okay, okay. When I first heard of a little disruption on campus concerning Palestine, Israel, I thought, what an opportunity for Rutgers University and President Holloway, who a few years ago during his inaugural address talked about the beloved community. And I was waiting to hear those two words during this conversation about the conflict that's going on in the Middle East. And it seems to me just a reminder that this is another opportunity to expand upon your idea of a beloved community. We are proving to not be that with what is going on now. And I think that we should try and make good on your vision of having a beloved community that ushered in your arrival to the university.
Thank you, Linda, online Linda. That's a powerful reminder of the moment, that the possibilities of the moment. And it is also a powerful reminder of how far we have to go on many different, from many different perspectives. One thing I've charged some members of my cabinet to work on is to think about how we position ourselves and articulate ourselves along those lines at the start of next semester. There are so many things that we're trying to do that really relate to timing. So an initiative does not get caught up in, oh, they're only doing this because of X. This is much larger than X. And so stay tuned for more on that front in the spring semester. Thank you.
Not online, Linda Rivers.
Thank you. Mike, first off, thank you so much for your report. And my question goes back to the AI issue that you were talking about earlier. And you expressed that Rutgers should be in the forefront of all of this. And it sounds like we're working well within the AI currently. Moving forward, how are we positioning ourselves to be that leader in the AI? Will there be accreditations and will there be courses and all of that for the students? And will it be across the university? Because I think AI hits every different department, not just like an AI department, like it hits everything. So that's sort of.
Thank you. That's a great question. One of the things that the academic master plan calls for is interdisciplinary collaboration. So with the Chancellor Challenge, we're only funding folks who are working together because AI is relevant for education, for agriculture, for the arts, so on and so forth. So we are being intentional, preparing our students. In the spring, I'll be issuing a new Chancellor Challenge call for academic programs. We have a smattering in some of the expected places, but looking at how we can integrate other disciplines into this. So we're issuing that call and we'll see what faculty comes up with. Thanks.
Dr. Schwartz.
Thank you, Alan. Chancellor Conaway, friend, thank you for a superb presentation on AI and for helping non-traditional students. I have sort of a positive question to ask you. We have an international presence or recruit international students. How are we doing with our recruitment? I know there are visa problems. Would you like to comment on the current experience now, bringing the world here? Thank you.
Thank you. We are up in terms of our numbers of international student applicants, and it's looking very promising. Also, Mike Gower and I have been exploring some other options in terms of how do we develop programs where students can maybe start in their home country, get a few credits, and then come to us. So we're looking at a couple of places. It's too preliminary to say. So we're looking at other ways also of creating community internationally. The usual suspects or more reliable points of origins for international students are no longer as reliable because of the world events that have been happening. But I know that EVPAA Mogi went to India to sort of look at some opportunities there. And there are lots of other, separate efforts that are happening. So I think we'll see how this plays out if the students who applied actually convert. But there's lots, the Rutgers name outside of New Jersey, everyone believes it's a private university, that it's an Ivy League. The reputation is so strong that we have students who really want to come here, so.
President Holloway.
If I could just add to that, amplifying what Fran just shared, she made quick reference to Prabhas Mogi. What he oversees our global affairs administrative offices and has charged them for producing a strategic plan, which I'll be getting briefed on very shortly. He's giving me a preview. So that work is in progress, and that is about our research support and opportunities, of faculty affiliation opportunities, but undergraduate experience opportunities, but also recruiting people to Rutgers in a domestic sense. So we will, we have been more pointillist in the past than we're going to be going forward. It is a goal, the goal of which is to manage resources and have a focused voice. There's also ongoing work. Fran did mention Prabhas's visits to India in January. And then I'll be heading for the second year to London. Actually, it'll be a week's spin between London, Paris, and Dubai, all part of the same initiative to try to raise the Rutgers flag as many places as possible. Last thing I'll say is that Kimberly Hopley at the foundation is developing advanced plans, too early to talk about now, but that will make more concrete Rutgers as a global actor.
Magnificent. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, Brielle, since you're a student, you get another shot.
I feel so special. So I wanted to go back to your Discovery Advantage initiative, and I wanted to ask a question about your transfer portal that you were bringing up out of the works. How is that going to improve the transfer of credits from school to schools? Because I know a lot of transfer students take courses at a community college to save money, and then it doesn't properly get transferred over to Rutgers, and then they're spending more money and like a waste of their time, essentially. So I was wondering if maybe this portal or just the Discovery Advantage in general could improve this.
Yes, thank you again. You're asking great questions. When the Discovery Advantage Committee was convened, we had about, I would say, 200 faculty, students, and staff working on this. And we identified 3 areas that we needed folks to work on. The first, welcoming and equitable environment, is about how do we make it easier for students to transfer into Rutgers? How do we situate it so that students know what credits, what things they're going to get credit for and what things they're not? Part of the challenge, again, has been that we've been very distributed. So each school does their own thing. And what we're saying now is, again, on the, President Holloway's mandate that we come together and be organized is, we are going to have one standard for everybody. And you don't get to say, I don't like, the fact that this student took calculus at X institution and we don't think that they're qualified to pass our courses. Like, it's so subjective right now. It's up to Professor X, Y, or Z. So we want to streamline it, and out of fairness and equitable treatment of our students, we want to have some standards and some expectations that we will all participate in. So that is a big area of Discovery Advantage. We formed last spring a transfer policy committee. That committee made some recommendations. All of these reports are on my website. So we're looking to now take it to the next step. But thank you.
Dorothy, and this will be the last question because I do need to move us on the agenda.
Point of personal privilege. I have been around and doing things for this university for quite a while, but perhaps the most important thing I ever did was serve on the search committee that found her.
We didn't pre-plan that. Chancellor Conway, thank you very much for your presentation. I think you can see by the questions, the interest here. And I have to admit, I'm a little bit nervous after learning you're the enforcer. And here I am botching up the name there. So let's move on in our agenda. I just want to direct you to attention to our September 19, 2023 meeting minutes that were posted on the portal. Are there any additions and corrections? May I have a motion to approve? So move. A second? Second. All in favor? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Executive committee minutes are posted for your perusal on the portal. I do want to move on to our proposed resolution that we have adopting revision to university policy. Is Mike here? He's not. No. Gary, could you briefly go through the changes?
I will do my best. Yes, absolutely. So there are a few key things we want to change. There's three in particular. One is really a clarification point of moving from endowment to investment office, just to more accurately reflect what is going on in the investment policy statement. But the two more substantive ones, the first is we're not changing any of our target asset allocation, meaning how much in equities and how much in bonds, but rather the ranges that we allow ourselves in terms of what the max is and the min is for each bucket. That's the first enhancement. Just a short background, and I'm happy to go into any detail if you have questions, but there wasn't really a process behind it. We decided to do it a little bit more empirically, use measures of actual volatility. And so therefore we kind of use the measure of volatility for each line item. And so it's, I think, defensible, and going forward, it can continue to be created and used as opposed to more ad hoc gut judgment. So we think that's a better process. And the second important thing we did was we added more of a check and balance from a governance perspective that the committee is able to review if in fact we do go above or below the range. The staff and the consultant would come up with a proposal to the committee, so we would be able to authorize the action or inaction when we do hit the limit. So those are the two in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions. If not, we can go to a vote.
Any questions for Gary?
Just a quick question,
Joyce?
Gary. What is our current investment payout, endowment payout?
4%.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Gary? Jim?
Hey, Gary. If it goes to committee, is that the final say as to whether it has met the criteria, or does it come to the board?
In the best of my knowledge, I'll defer to Kim, but I don't believe it would come to the board. I think it would be done on the committee level in terms of the proposal. But so I believe that would be the process. I would say, again, it's a very collaborative effort, and these are, guideposts. They're not. We want to move away from forced rebalancing, meaning, okay, if you hit a limit, you have to do something because there might be either an investment opportunity or some reason, liquidity, that we may not do that. But we try to be as empirical as we can and thoughtful, as opposed to just closing our eyes, say, yes, we have to sell something or buy something. Hope that answers.
May I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Against? Abstain? Thank you. So I want to move on now to our fiscal year goals. In the assessment, you had asked that the chair review the goals at every meeting. And we have a dashboard, and I'd just like to take that time now to review them and then answer any questions you might have. So looking at our membership goals, goals 1 and 2, assistance with these two goals will be led by David Harris and the Committee on Trustee Philanthropy. We'll hear David's report later on in the meeting. This is in progress. Goal 3, assistance with this goal will be led by Mike Duhame and the Task Force on Legislative Affairs. Vice Chair Amy Mansue will be giving the report of the task force later on in the meeting. Goal 4. You should have received a communication or will receive a communication from a member of the executive committee to see how our progress is being met with this goal. I just want to highlight some of the events and activities that our trustees as a whole have participated to date. President Holloway's tailgate, President Holloway's stakeholder address, President Holloway's Burn Seminar interviews, Board of Trustees educational site visit, football, men's basketball, women's basketball games, teaching an undergraduate class, teaching a law school class, teaching a graduate course at Blaustein Planning and Public Policy, guest lecturing in an MBA class, Rutgers Board of Directors meetings for the foundation, Rutgers Business School Alumni Award Celebration, Rutgers Business School Reception, Rutgers African American Alumni Alliance Hall of Fame Gala, AADC lectures and board meetings, involvement with Honors Living College in Newark, Mason Gross Art Event, Advisory Board of the Cancer Center of New Jersey, meeting with the new Dean of Douglas Residential College, mentoring graduate and undergraduate students, dinner with the Dean of Engineering, Engineering Medal of Excellence Gala, Engineering Student Meet and Greet, attending Douglas Day, Rutgers SAS Bildner Center Jewish Film Festival, SAS Executive Dean's Advisory Council, Graduate School of Education Alumni Association Executive Board, Rutgers Business School Networking Event, lunch with the Dean of Law School, Law School Dean's Advisory Council, keynote speech to Rutgers law students, Rutgers Law School Reunion Committee, new trustee meet and greet with the BOT chair, Scarlet Speakers Lectures, Rutgers Camden Chancellor State of the Campus Address, lunch with Chancellor Tillis, Homelessness Summit at Rutgers Camden, Rutgers Athletics Hall of Fame dinner, lunch with Italian Department Chair, Rutgers Law School Career Fair, Rutgers Law School Dean Meet and Greet, hosting a scholarship lunch at Rutgers Camden, Board of Trustees Mentor-Mentee meeting in New York City, Rutgers Camden New Student Convocation. This is just a sampling of what our board, our trustees have done between July 1 and now. Quickly adding up the hours. And again, I just took a sampling of the input we've gotten. It's over 500 hours of dedication to our university. So I want to thank you all for answering the call to be part of the life of our university and for making our beloved community stronger. Thank you. Moving on to the Board of Trustees leadership goals and trustees a whole goal. Goals 1, 2, and 3 are in progress. These will be led by David Harris and the Committee on Trustee Philanthropy. Goal 4, we heard from Chancellor Tillis on September 19. We heard from Chancellor Conway today. We will hear from Chancellor Cantor in March and Chancellor Strom in June. So we are in progress on those goals. Goal 5, we had 13 trustees and 4 trustee emeriti present at our first educational site visit at the Rutgers Center for Ocean Observing Leadership. Say that 5 times real fast. It was a wonderful tour. If you've never seen the facility, it is worth taking the time to do so. We are in the process of planning our next site visit and hope to be able to provide you with more information in the near future. Goal 6, as you know, our retreat is scheduled for April the 10th. You've all received information about it. I think we have an exciting group of speakers and topics for you. Goal 7, thanks to Squire Servance for leading this effort. The first event took place on October 30. More events to follow. Thank you, Squire. Goal number 8 has been completed. And I want to publicly thank trustee mentor Unique Lecadre and trustee emerita mentor Wilma Harris for serving as mentors to Jennifer Bender, trustee mentor Anthony Covington, and trustee emeritus Frank Hunley for serving as mentors to Faison Amjad, And thank you to trustee mentor Linda Rivers and trustee emerita Mary DiMartino for serving as mentors to Dina Elkins. Thank you. Goal 9, I put together an email communication for the board each month. I plan to continue to do so. I try and emphasize things that I think it's important that you should know and to try and give you information on things that happen between meetings. We only meet 4 times a year and Rutgers is a busy place and a lot happens. I've hosted 2 meet and greets with the chair. I plan to continue these informal gatherings moving forward. We're making good progress toward accomplishing our goals, and I thank you for your efforts in helping us to achieve them. Any questions at all on the goals? Good. Okay, thank you. Moving on in the agenda, I'd like to go to the report on trustee philanthropy. David Harris, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Committee on Philanthropy met twice. We met first on September 28th, and it was to review the history of the committee and to look at our goals and to decide what we would like to do in this coming year. One of the things we're looking at is the perspective. Rather than wait until March for Giving Week, the giving that counts is from July 1st through June 30th, our fiscal year. So we have embarked on really 2 focal points. One is for those of us of a certain age, we can give directly from our IRAs to charity. We cannot do that electronically this year, but the foundation will be ready to do it next year. They said by December 31st, but that's too close. If you need any assistance, you can call the foundation, the Divine Tabios, and she said she will walk you through it if you need any help. So if you want to give or you need to make a contribution before the end of this year, do so, it will count. We have a meeting in March and right before Giving Week. And for those trustees who have not made a gift, by that time, we will call you because you probably overlooked it. We had a second meeting, and that was with the foundation. It was very, very useful meeting. Kim Hopley was there as along with Diane Tabios. And they have provided us with 2 things that are very important. One is a link and a QR code. The link and the QR code are on the screen. Both of these will take you directly to the Scarlet Promise Initiative page so that you can make a contribution. You don't have to look and figure out how to do it or anything like that. Bam, you're right in there. Now, make sure that you indicate, if that's what you want to do, that you indicate it's for the endowment. The endowment will allow you to keep giving long after you're gone. Now, you can't take it with you. As Denzel Washington said, you don't see a U-Haul behind the hearse. But it's a blessing to be able to give after you're gone. And that's what the endowment does. So you can use this link and this QR code to do that. The other thing that I consider even more valuable than the QR code is that they have provided us with 2 vignettes that talk about the Scarlet Promise Initiative. One, all of us have probably seen, it's President Holloway's pitch. I don't mean to demean it by calling it a pitch, but the one that is really powerful is students who have received these grants. And when you learn, sometimes so little money at the right time makes a big difference. And to have the flexibility of the Scarlet Promise Grant at our fingertips is amazing. Now, we have yet to meet with the financial aid office because we want to learn more about how much good this is doing at the granular level, and we can report on that at the next meeting. But no, look at those vignettes, and we're going to provide them to you in a way that you can forward them with an email so that you can send them to the people who you invite to participate in this. And you know that our goal, when we talk about it, I simplify it this way. We want more money from more people. So we want each trustee to invite 5 people to give. Now, I know that sometimes, unless they write it in the memo section of their check, they don't know that we won't know that you were the ones that referred them. If you use the QR code and the link, that will be linked to your invitation in a way. But it doesn't really matter because we're not looking for credit. We're looking for cash. So finally, and I'll make this short. Thanks to Alan, our distinguished chair. He introduced me through email to Gloria Vanderhaven, who is president or chair of the RUAA. Many of you know her. So she and I had a conversation and email exchanges, and I provided her with these vignettes so that now all of the Rutgers alumni organizations will have the same opportunity to make this gift that we have to the Scarlet Promise Endowment. So when I talk to you next year, we'll begin to report how much more money from how many more people. And that is a promise that we can fulfill, and it's a Scarlet Promise. Thank you, Mr. Chair. If there's any questions.
Wonderful, David. Any questions?
I do have one.
Mary.
What day is Giving Day in the spring?
I think it's Giving Week.
Giving Week.
Giving Week.
Days. Okay. What are the days? Does anyone know?
Is it the 12th through the 15th?
Of March?
Yeah. And I'm not sure about that.
Between March 1st and the 30th.
It's
Well,
no,
I think-
we will
Less
get
spring
back to
break.
you with the
Yeah,
official.
I think it's the
I don't know
12th
if
through
it's
the
say,
15th.
it's
but I'm
normally
not
between
sure.
the.
We'll get back to you with the
Okay.
official
The
giving
board,
dates.
the board meeting is in March is the 9th. Wait a minute.
Tell
I
you in a
get
minute.
that too.
Mr. Chair,
March 19 is our board meeting.
Right, it's the week after our, Mary, it's the week after our board meeting. Our board meeting's the 19th. So it's the 20th,
Okay.
I mean, not the 20th, but the
That week of
21st,
the.
that week, yeah.
Okay.
The
perfect.
20th and
Thank you.
21st.
Right, and I think it's the 20th, anyway, yeah.
That last week.
It's
Okay.
like, there's
But I
like 3
think-
days. It's
I
not a
think
week.
this link will be able, if you wanted to put it on your LinkedIn page, you could copy that link and it'll create a button off your LinkedIn profile to donate.
The Board of Trustees will get lots of information in the near future about this. We'll give you exact dates. We'll send the QR code, we'll send the link. David Harris and his group are going to be doing a bang up job. So just you wait and see.
What was that, Linda?
That's right, that's right. I knew it was more than 2 days.
Right. So again, but I think what David is trying to explain is we're trying to do a process this year. So if you don't want to get a call from David or someone on the committee, get on board early. On the other hand, if you want to talk with them, just sit on it until the last minute.
Mr. Chair, may I just note, Mr. Harris, I think when we met, we said that we weren't going to be focused on Giving Day or Giving Week. We
Right.
wanted to make sure that we were just focused on making sure that giving would take place during the academic year.
Right, between July 1st and June 30th, it all counts. Okay?
That is the fiscal year for the university, so that's correct. Okay, anything else for David? Yes.
I'm sorry, can we create something for the board that's a LinkedIn post that we can just post out there and then like and repost like every once in a while, just so it comes to the front of our scrolls? Because then it can always be up there. Like I'll just keep reposting it once a week to my account, but if we have something that we can just keep rotating, because then it'll just be in perpetuity. It won't just be for March,
Can
it'll
we
be.
do that?
All right, thank you.
Kim says we can do.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll work on that.
Right.
You know, David, I'm just gonna say, hey, look, get this thing going with this scroll thing, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, anything else for David? Jennifer? Anything else for David? Okay. Oh, is that a thumbs up, Walt? Do you have something?
Good job, David.
All right, good job. All right, good job, David.
I can turn my mic off.
Okay, let's go on back to Gary, Joint Committee on Investments. I know I kind of, called him surprised. I thought Mike would be here, but now you can give your real report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was honored and it's a nice 1-2 punch with David because once the money comes in, then we try to grow those assets for the endowment. So I just want to talk a little about current assets, about 1.9 billion. I'll go through a little bit of performance and then some of the recommendations. I'm happy to answer any questions at the end. But our assets sit at 1.9 billion. The past 1 year through September 30th, we're up about a little over 10%, 10.1 versus our target benchmark of 10.4. Now, you probably saw your 70-30 portfolios that you guys all may have up almost 15%, largely because global equities were up about 21%. And so, we aren't only into public equities, but we were up 10.1%, which is great. On the 3-year, we're down about 80 basis points, about 7% versus 7.8. And the 70-30 is only up about 2.1%. So, over time, we believe our allocation is a much better return per unit of risk. From an attribution standpoint, for the year versus our benchmark, we did trail by about 30 basis points. And that was largely due to some asset allocation. We were long things like emerging markets and weren't overweight US equities as much. Again, we made some enhancements and we'll be more benchmark within the public equity space. We talked about that last quarter. From a peer standpoint, we'll start to see some benchmarking that comes out officially in February. Early indication is that we performed reasonably well, in line with some of the numbers that we're starting to see. Some of the whisper numbers on endowments greater than $1 billion, we're probably outpacing them by about 100 basis points through June 30th. So roughly 6.9 versus 5.6. Again, we'll see a lot more information come in February when things get finalized, but I think the performance was reasonably good. In our committee meeting, we did have 4 recommendations totaling about $50 million in a variety of investment opportunities. And, we have been transitioning from an active portfolio on the public side to save our endowment about $2 million in total in fees. And that's going quite well. So that's really my remarks, Mr. Chair, and would welcome any and all questions.
Gene,
please.
This is a question, so I have an answer to give. I live in New Brunswick and I sometimes teach at Blousey as an adjunct, unpaid, obviously. Question from some students and young people is, how are we doing on the divestment from fossil fuels? What's the answer I should give them?
Sure. I will actually try to give you exact numbers. So we have been progressing on our fossil fuels pretty aggressively. Again, one of the challenges is on the private side, is those are quite long. But just to give you a number, like a headline number, the exposure when we had it in January of 2020 was about 6.7% of the endowment. We had roughly about 35 different investments that would fall into that category. As of September 30th, we're at 3.45%. So, roughly in half, and we're in about 23 investments. Again, I'm happy to give you even more detail of those 23 of when they roll off, but unfortunately on the private space, you're in a lot of these for a long time.
Yeah, I thank you. I just spoke at a sustainability class at Livingston. And I was asked that question by the students. So thank you.
So we're roughly halfway down. Thank you. Any other
questions for Gary? Thank you. Thanks, Gary. I'd like now to hear the report of the Committee on Diversity, Inclusion, and Outreach. Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Chair Costa. Tough acts to follow, Gary and David. So the Committee on Diversity reviewed each member's communications with trustees regarding the October 17th call for nominations by the Office of the Secretary. The committee specifically discussed the candidates that board members plan to nominate, and we were encouraged by the feedback. The committee is hopeful that the board will receive a wide range of diverse candidates. No divorces, no divorces.
I've done worse, so don't worry.
Wow, that was not a Freudian slip, by the way. Okay. Okay, specifically in areas, so we received a wide range of diverse candidates, specifically in areas that will become needs in the near future, such as healthcare, for example. As a reminder, the deadline for submitting nominations is December 11th, so let's get our nominations in. The committee also discussed strategies for outreach to organizations in pursuit of candidates to the Board of Trustees who will fulfill the board's goal to reflect the population of the state of New Jersey. Committee members have made connections with many of these groups and plan to visit and present to these groups. Those plans are being pursued as we speak. So if any trustee knows of organizations that may be good for this type of outreach, or if you have any specific connections or relevant connections to those organizations, please reach out to me. The committee concluded our meeting by reviewing the available materials utilized when meeting with these organizations. Members shared Rutgers' website for media relations that provided a plethora of information to be used for these presentations that the members plan to utilize. The committee also discussed some of the accomplishments, the wonderful accomplishments of the Board of Trustees that we plan to highlight during this outreach. So this concludes the report of the Committee on Diversity, Inclusion, and Outreach.
Any questions for Ms. Rodriguez? Great. Thank you, Terry. Nice work. I'd like to ask now for the report of the Task Force on Legislative Engagement. Vice Chairman Sue will be giving their report. Amy?
Thank you, Chairman Costa. Chairman Duhame is traveling today, and so he asked me to provide the following. The Committee on Legislative Affairs has not met between meetings, but Chairman Costa asked for an update post the election. The legislative elections resulted in more Democrats and also a dozen new younger members in both houses and both parties due to retirements. The Senate remained the same, 25-15, Democrat-Republican split, although the people changed. And the Assembly majority went up 51-29. So there will be a great opportunity for us to provide education as we especially focus on those newer members. The legislative leadership has not changed. I say that with a big asterisk because we've been in times during lame duck sessions when things go awry and something changes. But right now, we feel like we're in very good shape and that leadership will remain the same. Several political leaders actually came and spoke to Mike's class of note at Eagleton on Douglas, among them Governor Phil Murphy, Senate President Nick Scutari, Senator Vin Gopal, who had a tremendous win in his home district, and Senator Bramnick, who is expected potentially to announce for governor. In the spring, our committee will hold meetings with 4 legislative leaders, the Senate President, Speaker, Senate Minority Leader, as well as the Assembly Minority Leader, really just to set the table, if you will, and prepare us for that budget session. As you know, one of our goals is that each of you will be making contact with your local legislator in the spring to make sure that they know that Rutgers is alive and welling and living and voting in their district. And we want you to know that all of the committee members will make ourselves available to either go with you if you are so, if you so would like us to, or at least provide you some talking points and some general updates to be able to do that. I know many of you already have longstanding relationships, and this is really just a touchstone to know that not only do you have the relationship that they may know about, but the board relationship may be something new. finally, we will continue to work with Pete McDonough's office to deliver tchotchkes, to keep, or their keepsakes, as Mike said, but it's a tchotchke, for each legislator, and we're going to ask the local trustee to participate in that. This concludes my report, and I'm glad to answer any questions that you may have, unless they're hard, and then I won't.
I don't think it'll be hard, but
Mary?
it might be hard. Do we know if there's any in the new members, Rutgers alums? Have we figured that out yet? That was.
I'm sure that Pete does know that. I don't
Okay.
have that number.
All right. And then Pete had mentioned that he would get us the numbers within district of voting alums.
I will follow up with him on
Yeah,
that.
that would be helpful just because my district hasn't changed, but I can't, like when I'm at the grocery store, bother these guys.
We,
Pete's on. I know it's lame duck session, so I wasn't sure whether we
Oh.
were gonna grab him or not. So
Yeah,
Peter,
very quickly, we have just crunched all the numbers that, for those of you who've been involved in redistricting, it's a real bit of a headbanger, and we've managed to pull down the zip codes of all the new districts and crunch them against the entire Rutgers database. And within the next couple of, and we've actually sorted them out for each district, and we have the number of alumni, the number of students, the amount of financial aid, the amount of contracts written in a district, the amount of payroll written in a district, which is even more than we've had in the past. We're just getting that typeset now so that the trustees through at Mike's direction, we will be sending you out in mid-January an introductory letter to the new legislators with the new data for each one of their districts. So we have that. We're just honestly putting it together as we speak right now. But it's really neat. I love this data stuff. I can just get buried in it. They're really
Pete, I'm not
big
sure.
numbers, and they're very impressive.
Pete, it's Amy. I'm not sure if you heard the question about whether or not we have any new alum or have any alums in the new members. Do you know?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay, we'll get that for you.
I know there's at least one, Tennille McCoy, who just won. She's Rutgers alum.
Yes, that's right. Tennille in Mercer County. Yes, Jean.
I would suggest that Pete does what he's always done, is give us some talking points, the most important points. It doesn't have to be by individual, although in some of them, if they're chair of committee or something, maybe, but even for a normal assembly member, having some basic talking points is useful.
Absolutely. That will be provided.
just to reinforce, we're not going to send you out there taking a long walk on a short plank. Okay, so we will provide you with what you need to work with me here, Pete, please.
Yeah, I do believe that the data that Pete talked about was tremendously powerful, especially with the speaker. Obviously, he's from Middlesex. He feels like he knows us, but my understanding from that meeting, and I'll take correction, Pete, if I'm wrong, is that it was a real eye opener for him on how many alums he actually had within his, again, the voting district of his, and how much, and people work at Rutgers as well. So that's always a good data points to have for electeds.
Anyone have any other questions for Amy?
That concludes my report.
Okay, great. Seeing none, I'd like to call on Dr. Doherty now to give the report of the Camden Board of Directors.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The board, Camden Board of Directors met 2 times since we last reported to this board. On June 5th, 2023, the board began the meeting by approving the minutes of the January 25th, 2023 meeting. Dr. Antonio Tillis, Chancellor of Rutgers University Camden, reported on commencement 2023 at Rutgers University Camden and announced 4 additions to the campus leadership team. He also reported on enrollment for the fall 23 semester, noting there was a positive post-pandemic shift. Chancellor Tillis then provided an update on research at the campus and shared some noteworthy accomplishments of Rutgers Camden faculty and students. He concluded by previewing events and programs for students and Camden youth over the summer. Next, Chancellor Tillis called on Ms. Toni Mooney-Smith, Vice Chancellor for Marketing and Communication at Rutgers University Camden, to provide a report. Ms. Mooney-Smith reviewed the campus marketing and communications campaign, shared an update on moving Rutgers University Camden magazine from print to a digital format, and discussed the launch of the brand identity campaign and social media strategies. As a side note, if you've not met her, she's just a wonderful person to meet And if you drive into Camden from the Philly side on the Ben Franklin Bridge, you'll see the results of some of her work, some huge billboards that say Rutgers Camden next stop. We then met on September 14th, 23, and Dr. Walter McDonald was inducted and joined the Rutgers University Camden Board of Directors as a member representative of the Rutgers University Board of Trustees. Elections for the term September 23 to September 24 were held, and I was elected as chair. Okay.
Always good to have a fan out there, Jim.
That's the best yay I've gotten in a long time. Anthony Covington was elected as vice chair.
Yay.
Full credit. Michael Sapanic was elected as secretary, and Michael Gower was elected as treasurer. The board then approved the minutes of the June 5th, 23 meeting. Chancellor Tillis provided a report and began by noting that the campus welcomed nearly 1,800 new students and 21 faculty members this fall. He then updated the board on enrollment, reporting that there were significant gains in first time in college, transfer, and graduate student enrollment. He also shared updates on the 15 and 5 initiatives, stating that 11 initiatives have been launched, while adding that the final 4 were launched during 2023-2024. He also discussed leadership and strategic initiatives, as well as the campus strategic planning process and new traditions at Rutgers Camden. Chancellor Tillis updated the board on noteworthy accomplishments by Rutgers Camden students and faculty members and answered questions from board members before concluding his report. Side note, I was on that strategic planning process committee, and that's a lot of work. Mr. Chair, this concludes the report of the Camden Board of Directors.
Any questions for Dr. Doherty? Great. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
I call your attention to the Board of Governors Committee on Audit in your materials, the minutes. That's for information only. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Mike Gower about it. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? Okay, so before we call for an adjournment, remember, get those nominations in. And our end of year celebration is at the Rutgers Club directly following. So I hope to see you all there so we can celebrate Rutgers and each other. May I have a motion to adjourn? May I have a second? Very good, Jim. Any discussion? All in favor? Any against? Any abstentions? We are adjourned. Thank you.